He said to me, he said, "Minister, they always made us see black people as ugly people in the jungles of Africa." Listen to his words to me. He said, "But then I began to study, and I saw that some of these great Egyptian pharaohs, they were beautiful people." He said, "And so I went," he said, "to my friend Spielberg and David Geffen and others, and I asked them, would they help me to produce a movie on the lives of Africans to show black people how really beautiful we are and were." He said they turned him down, and he said he decided he would do it himself.
There's a sky in the east over pyramids at Giza, where there once lived a girl. She ruled the world. Then down the Nile he came with a smile. He was the king, she was the queen under the moonlight. Your eyes won't believe what your mind can conceive. Nights over Egypt.
In 1997, the Art Bell radio program aired an interview with Richard Hogan regarding the recent discovery of a new room under the pyramids through a secret shaft under the Sphinx. Inside the room was a statue of a black man. This information was suppressed but leaked out through the testimony of an eyewitness guard. Following are excerpts from this program. Notice that the Europeans wrestle with their denial of the black African truth, even in the face of new undeniable evidence.
What this guard reported was that on October 20th, Farouk El-Baz, the same man who picked the Apollo landing sites on the moon according to the Orion-Sirius connection,
Yes.
and two English-speaking Europeans carrying a large aluminum case entered the Great Pyramid that morning for 3 hours on October 20th. They proceeded to put a robot up the shaft and a camera with a fiber optic connection under the crack in the door. They proceeded to look through to find what was inside a chamber, and there is a chamber back there, according to the story, which is about 3 meters by 2.5 meters in size.
Yes.
There is a statue in this room.
A statue.
Of a black man.
A black man.
Seated, looking up the shaft toward the star Sirius at the meridian crossing.
Wow.
And there is more.
There's more.
Isn't this getting to be interesting?
It is, yes. Now, let's define black. 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 Here's a fax from Jerry in Clovis, California. My teacher, a colleague, told me the Egyptians were very dark Caucasians. I guess this new discovery proves it to be true. They were not black. Told me the Egyptians were very dark Caucasians. I guess this new discovery proves it to be true. They were not black. So, do you want to stick with your description of a black man, or would this be a dark-skinned Egyptian, or is that too close a call to make?
No, the description was a black man.
A black man.
Yeah, yeah.
And they manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that.
We all know white Egypt is a joke, but how did that lie even get started? And how did the Euro clowns sell the idea of whites in Africa anyway? With Napoleon's incursion into northern Africa in the early 19th century, Egypt had finally come back to the white world's attention. While Napoleon's troops were busy giving the Sphinx a nose job, Francois Champollion, a fellow Frenchman, was deciphering the hieroglyphs. Both Champollion and Count de Volney attested to the Egyptians having been Africans. At this time, not even one European or Arab said the Egyptians were white, but then again, Champollion and de Volney were not racialists. Unfortunately, it wasn't long after France reminded the white world of Egypt's glory that the white supremacists from the US and Britain rushed to Africa. The white world hadn't taken an interest in Egypt since the time of the Romans, and the Europeans had never cared about Egypt at all. So why the sudden interest? What had changed? What had changed was that there was now a white supremacy myth that was the flimsy glue holding the white world together, and these twisted minds converging on Africa realized that myth was about to come undone. But the white revisionists had one major advantage: the public's ignorance. Black Egypt was merely common knowledge in the global mind, not an established fact. Since mass production of books didn't exist yet, the public had no specific pictures of the Egyptians' own artwork or translation of their writings to attach blackness to. It would be no problem for the revisionists to get the white academic world behind them. After all, the doctrines of black inferiority came from white universities. Most of the book and magazine publishers were white university men, just like the white supremacists who were rewriting Egypt's history. Not only would these colleagues eagerly publish these lies, they'd also ensure anything to the contrary simply wouldn't be printed in books or magazines. The cool, rational analyses of men like Herodotus and Champollion had now been outlawed. The racists were about to rewrite history.
Stories buried and untold. Someone is hiding the truth. Hold on, when will this mystery unfold?
The Secrets Hidden in the Pyramids of Egypt. Part 1. The idea that civilizations progress from a primitive state to a more advanced one is a fallacy that evolutionists try to apply to history. If one abandons evolutionist nonsense and prejudice and looks at the historical references and findings with an unbiased mind, what one encounters is civilizations that used highly advanced technologies. Remains left from ancient Egypt, the Mayans, and the Sumerians indicate the branches of science such as electricity, electrochemistry, electromagnetics, metallurgy, hydrogeology, medicine, chemistry, and physics were used to a considerable extent. Electricity was efficiently generated and widely utilized in ancient Egypt. The Baghdad battery and the first arc lights were used at that time. But was electrical generation limited to these in ancient Egypt? A careful examination of Egyptian history immediately reveals the sophistication in perfect illumination. No soot has been found in the corridors of the pyramids or the tombs of the kings, because these areas were lit using electricity.
Stories buried and untold. Someone is hiding the truth. Hold on, when will this mystery unfold? And will the sun ever shine in the blind man's eyes when he cries? You can change the world. I can't do it by myself.
The greatest of all time. By